Hi there people, thank you for tuning in to this another fragrance video. What we've got before us here is a fragrance I've owned for quite a long time. As you can see from the bottle, I've used quite a lot of juice. Been meaning to review this for probably about 2 or 3 years now, but not actually got round to it. If the truth be told, this review will probably be fairly pointless in the respect that reviews on Mont Blanc Individual are 10 a penny. But I wanted to give you my honest opinion because this is probably one of the most overhyped fragrances on YouTube that there is. If you're in a bit of background noise as well, I'm currently recording this close to a main road, so there's a few cars passing by. But anyway, coming back to Mont Blanc Individual, as I say, it is one of YouTube's most hyped fragrances, but without being a well-known fragrance in terms of general people. Most people out there in the public, they will only know 5 or 6 fragrances. And the 5 or 6 big ones, your Sauvage, your La Mole, your 1 Million, your Youp Homme, going back a few years. Individual, you don't smell it on people that often. It's well known in the fragrance community, but to the general public, it's not something that they will come across particularly often, particularly as a lot of retailers no longer stock this. But anyway, what can we say? Well, firstly, it is a very cheap fragrance, so you do get a lot of bang for your buck with this. I previously included it in my cheap fragrance videos because for £20 to £25, which is all this costs, it's a fairly solid purchase. But what I wanted to get off my chest with this as much as anything, what I want to be honest about is just to stress that it isn't as good a fragrance as some YouTubers will have you believe. Now, there's a certain YouTuber, I won't name, who would have you believe this absolute compliment monster. You wear this, people will fall at your feet. It's amazing, the best. He doesn't talk about it too much now, but 2-3 years ago, the YouTuber in question, who you can probably work out that is, was really going to town on overhyping this and selling this. In reality, it's not as good as they claim. It's a decent fragrance without being mind-blowing. What can we say? I mean, let's just give you a bit of information. Well, it was created by the same creator as Cool Water by Davidoff, who allegedly also created the more expensive but equally similar to that Green Irish Tweed by Creed. Now this ironically does smell a lot like a Creed fragrance in itself because it's very similar to Original Santal, which was released in 2004 should I say, a year after this fragrance. That's led some people in the fragrance community to say that Creed copied Individual. I'm willing to give Creed the benefit of the doubt and believe that that's probably just a coincidence, or they do have some similarities. They're not exactly the same as some people would have you believe, but certainly there is some similarities. But let's not take them to the cleaners on that one. Certainly, I'll give Creed the benefit of the doubt. Anyway, so what does the damn thing smell like? Well, it's often compared to Youp Homme. Youp Homme is a very sweet fragrance that was released back in the 1980s, a real powerhouse fragrance. I mean, we used to have a monster sillage, you used to smell it pretty much everywhere at one time. This does have some similarities. This is like a lighter version, like an eau fraiche version of that in some respects. It's been compared to Dryer Sheets. Some people have said it's, it's got a raspberry edge, and that's one of the main notes, which we'll move on to now. I'll give you a quick overview of the notes themselves. In fact, you know what? I won't, because there are too many to list. But the main notes, the key notes in this are raspberry, vanilla and lavender, and that's really what you get from the fragrance. There are an absolute myriad of other notes going into this, which I'm not going to bore you with. So, in terms of seasons, it's more of an autumn-spring scent. So, when the weather is a little bit warm, but not hot, but also not winter either, it's not cold, probably in the region of 10 to 25 degrees. It fits into that category. Projection and longevity, though, are, I would say, below par. Certainly when you spray it on, it seems like it's going to be a fragrance that's really going to do the business, but it fades away pretty quickly. Now, I'm not sure whether that's a result of reformulations, because this fragrance has been around a long time. And it certainly does, like I say, it has a bit of kick in the opening, which a lot of reformulated fragrances don't have any kick at all. But for me, this does fade away pretty quickly. It's not that noticeable after a couple of hours, and it doesn't garner the compliments that, as I say, other people on YouTube would have you believe. I think that's pretty much all that we can say about this fragrance. As I say, other reviews on this are 10 a penny. If you want something that's probably a little bit less damning than what I've said, then please do check those out. But I do like to be honest with you, so I've given you my 2 pennies on this fragrance, and I at least hope that that's worth something. Thank you, and thank you for tuning in.